My name's Cara, and I live at South 3rd Avenue, and this is the third summer I've lived here. The first summer I grew out of buckets because we were remodeling the house. And then the second summer I had 4 raised beds, and then this summer I have 6 raised beds and 1 bed in the backyard, so we're gradually getting there.
You have beds in the front yard.
I have beds in the front yard, yeah. The sun, the best sun and the best exposure, we're out here, the least amount of shade, although in the morning there's shade right now. But it's an eye catcher, and it's called a social virus, that people see this garden and they say, I want one too. And so you'll start seeing them popping up. Okay, so this is kind of an odds and ends. This is as I got stuff. Some of these are seedlings from the Gallatin Gardeners Club. The broccoli, this is the best broccoli I've ever grown in my life. These are beautiful heads. And these seedlings came from the club. I have a potato that was a volunteer from my compost. I got a couple little giant bok choys. The leeks are mine, and then because I don't eat a lot of kale, I only grew 1 kale and 1 chard. And then I have leeks from the garden club back there too. This was a last year I had all my Hubbard squash growing here, and then they continued over into my neighbor's yard. So I told her whatever squash ended up in her yard she could have. So she got like 4 or 5 squash. So that turned out really well. So the idea of this bed and that other bed over there was to create a mini hoop house with plastic over it, and then so you could start crops early and then take it off and then, you know, go for the warmer crops. But that's what the idea last year, but I didn't move the hoops. So this year I had shallots and onions from the garden club, and this is kind of, some of this is already on the second crop. I think I have arugula in here, and I planted some peas down there. So this will get harvested. Last year I had a lot of stuff in here, and so I'm working on my rotation since essentially this is my second year. Oh, then I've had rabbits, so I threw this up here. I planted carrots. Carrots didn't do real well, so then I threw in turnips. So now I've got a mixture of carrots and turnips, and I think this may be a rutabaga. Yeah, it's a rutabaga. So this bed was my early crop of peas that I was going to pull up, but then it started producing, so I'm glad I didn't pull it up. I have tomatillos. Tomatillos aren't widely known here in Montana. They're good for green chili. And then peas that I propped up with a shelving material that I found. I'm into recycled materials. Then I decided to plant flowers mixed in with my beds this year. So I have some nasturtiums and arugula. I had spinach in here, but it bolted, and this was I'm not sure what that is. That bolted too. My lettuce is doing really well, and this was an earlier crop of beans, and then I have zucchini and then red runner beans. So I was trying to put my trellises on the ends of the beds, and those just screw on, and I can take them off and move them. This is a work in progress. I'm trying to kill the grass off, so I have cardboard down and weed barrier, and then I'm going to have bark chips brought in, and so it'll look a little bit better when I get the chips in. And then we'll have paths around all the beds, and that'll cut down on some of the weeds. This was a rental house before, and so the grass was all weeds. So I'm not losing any grass. It's very hardy weeds. Last year, and I think these 2 beds, I had straw bales, and I grew out of straw bales, and that worked really well. I had cucumbers, I had my eggplants, the beans, I think I planted some beans in it, and they did not do well. The green peppers and the eggplants did the best, and they were over there. And because the beds were new, I didn't have that much soil, so the bales decomposed, and I used that as my compost, and I did bring in soil this season to bring the soil level up in my beds. And so I've got squash, I have acorn and butternut going there. I have mixed results on those. Those don't do that well. And then peas and beans, so I'm trying to get that bed going. Then I have my Hubbards are my mainstay that I really enjoy. And these are my Hubbards, and there's some down there we'll be able to see. And I do have some, there's that looks, I'm not sure, that might be a hybrid. Maybe a cross between a Hubbard and a Yarradale. But I'm trying to grow Yarradales, which here's one, but it's not very big yet. It's a green-blue pumpkin that's really nice, and it's a great keeper. And it tastes really good too. These are the potatoes. I've got 3 or 4 different kinds of potatoes. They're ready to be harvested. There's a little beetle damage on them. I did a row of edible flowers in here this year just for fun. I forget what this is called. It's but it's a good pollinator. Here's more tomatillos, and here are the tomatillos here. and then they'll get bigger. I'm having mixed results on the cucumbers. What I'm finding is when I'm planting at the ends of the bed, it's not getting as much moisture and as much water and as much nutrient, so I'm going to have to modify it. But the trellises on the ends of the beds are a really nice use of space. So this is the first year for this bed. I had a straw bale potato area, small area. And then when the potatoes were done last year, I did sheet composting with cardboard, leaves, coffee grounds, and then I scattered the straw, and then I put some soil on here. So this is the first year for this bed. I didn't kill any of the weeds or anything. I just did the sheet composting on top of it, and it's done a pretty good job of keeping the weeds away. I got these 8 yellow eggplant I thought I'd try from Cashman, and then I have some peppers they're doing pretty well, and then some odds and end onions from the garden club, and then tomatoes that you gave me, Frank. Most of these are your starts. There's some Northern Delight. There's some Sun Golds. I think, I have some striped Romas. And I don't know what else is in here. Oh, there's some other Romas. There's 2 Hutterite tomato plants back there that were supposed to be paste tomatoes, but they're not. I prefer the paste because I prefer to dry them. These are the striped Romas. They tend to do really well. They're both good eating and drying tomato. Well, this is the bed. This is my very first bed when we moved in the house 3 years ago. And I started with a few strawberries, and then I got mint. It was like whatever I could plant in here. I had basil in here. Now I have parsley that's gone to seed, but I like it as a cut flower, so I left the seed heads. I have some perennial herbs in here. I have lovage, and I forgot what that one is. Anyway. But the goal is I'm going to have these strawberries take over the whole bed, and this will be all strawberries. And then the back bed will be all ornamentals. And then I did a cage around the strawberries because we were having squirrel and bird problems, and I put netting on that. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that framework into the front. Either this fall for frost protection, I'll staple plastic on it, or next spring and use it as a mini cold frame.